Hi, my name is Steve Rahi. I am a cloud solutions architect focused on management technologies. Today's discussion is focused on Azure ARC, specifically Azure ARC for servers, and also specifically Windows Admin Center. So here's our agenda for the session. What is Windows Admin Center? We'll talk about that in general. Then we'll talk about what is Windows Admin Center as it relates to Azure ARC. Why do we care about Windows Admin Center? We'll dig into the requirements, how it works. The vast majority of this session will be walking through Windows Admin Center and showing you what it will do. All right. So what is Windows Admin Center, right? Let's take this out of the context of Azure Arc for a minute because there is a standalone tool called Windows Admin Center. You can install on-prem, use on-prem, etc. Right? You might want to use Windows Admin Center, pardon me, on-prem versus Azure Arc. You might want to use it in both places. So at its core, Windows Admin Center is a management tool. It's a management tool that will allow you to connect to and manage systems that are associated with Windows Admin Center. Now, one thing about Windows Admin Center I want to differentiate here. The on-prem locally installed version of Windows Admin Center works with Windows Server, works with Windows Desktop 10, 11, whatever. The Azure ARC version of Windows Admin Center, same Windows Admin Center, it's just that Azure ARC is focused on servers. At least one section of Azure ARC is focused on servers, right? And let me explain that for me. So we've already talked about Azure ARC for servers. We're digging into that now. We have talked about Azure ARC as a way to work with Kubernetes. Azure ARC is a way to work with SQL servers and different things. So server management is one aspect of Azure ARC. We'll talk about that more. So resuming back in on the locally installed version, the non-Azure ARC version of Windows Admin Center. So it is a locally deployed component that you can use in your data centers, in your environments, right? It is browser-based, so it makes it extremely convenient. And one of the cool things about it, you'll see, none of what you will see in Windows Admin Center as far as management capabilities are new, meaning that all of what you're going to see, you have historically been able to do as a Windows administrator already. It's just the way that you've done it historically has been different. You might have used the Microsoft Management Console as an example. You might have connected to a network share, as an example. And you'll see that as we go through. Windows Admin Center allows you to do those things in an extremely convenient manner that goes beyond, kind of changes the game on how you do it. You're not tied to, for example, Microsoft Management Console. Again, you'll see that in a minute. Another thing that sometimes when people see Windows Admin Center, they kind of ask or think through is, does Windows Admin Center replace System Center? And the answer is not at all, right? There are things that you can absolutely do with Windows Admin Center that are extremely convenient. In fact, when I saw this tool, I thought it was really pretty amazing to see, just as a person doing the job that I'm doing, helping support organizations, and how incredible it would be for those IT admins that are actually doing the work at those organizations, right? So no, not even really a parallel to System Center so much. It complements System Center for sure, doesn't replace, right? And one thing jumping ahead that I'll say in a minute, you're going to see the default Windows Admin Center. And this is something that is currently in active development. I've seen it change even in the past few weeks as I've been playing with it, right? It's also extremely extensible. There are some add-ons that I've seen, for example, that people use with Windows Admin Center that aren't part of the default build. There's one for Config Manager, right? So anyway, that's what Windows Admin Center is itself. Now, what is Windows Admin Center for Azure ARC, right? Now, the answer to that question, it kind of makes us return back to a little brief discussion of what Azure ARC itself actually is. Windows Admin Center is a tool that you might want to use for your environment, right? As are all of the tools that you will see that are part of Azure ARC. So it's update management is something that exists separate from Azure ARC, and policy management and so on, right? Azure ARC, all it is, and not to minimize it, but all it is, Azure ARC takes the capabilities that are native to Azure and extends those capabilities to non-Azure environments. So if you have, for example, servers in Azure plus AWS plus Google Cloud plus Tom's cloud service or whatever, right? And you have servers that are physical or virtual, that are on-prem, whatever. You can take those controls that are native to Azure and extend them to those other servers so that you actually are able to manage in one pane of glass. So multi-cloud, absolutely. It's integrated, meaning that you can easily, extremely easily deploy Windows Admin Center to the servers that you're managing with Azure Arc. I'll show you that, how incredibly easy it is to configure. Probably I won't show you how easy it is to configure because I've already got it configured, but I'll tell you how easy it is to configure and show you the result of doing the configuration. Okay, so why do we care about this thing called Windows Admin Center for Azure Arc, for standalone, whatever the case may be? And there's a whole bunch of things on the screen. I don't have to read them to you at all. I will highlight a couple of things, right? Extraordinarily rich management without the requirement to RDP. Now that can be really huge, right? Why do we RDP into servers? It's typically to do administrative activities. If there's a way that we can do those same administrative activities without having to RDP, then we can get away perhaps from even using a computer to do it. Maybe we can use the browser on our phone. Yeah, very small, smaller, maybe a tablet, small, whatever, right? And imagine you're at an activity where you're with your family or whatever else, and there's a need that comes in to do something on a server. And so you can pull out your phone, and though it's inconvenient on the phone, smaller, you can certainly connect in and do that thing on the server or check out something on the server without having to go and get your computer out and connect to the VPN and connect potentially to the cloud service that you're worried about and so on, right? You can do it all very, very easy, right? What you're doing with Windows Admin Center, all of this is familiar functionality that's all put in one place, extraordinarily easy to use. You can manage it from anywhere, very secure in what we do. And the last thing, as I've already referenced, is extensible. And there's several other things that are part of this as well as to reasons why you might want to use Windows Admin Center, right? Okay. Now, what are the requirements? So basic requirements, extremely basic requirements. Yes, you need Azure, and you need an account with an active subscription. Big shocker, right? You do need the correct Azure permissions. Another shocker, right? You need the service to be available in your Azure region, and pretty much it will be. There are some places, as I want to say, that like in China, it might not be available. I can't remember exactly, so look that up yourself. But it's widely available. The machines that you want to manage are going to need to be available from a requirement perspective, and networking needs are necessary. All of these are pretty common for any of the things we would talk about with Azure Arc. So not a huge list of things that you have to do here. All right, so how does this actually work? I lifted this diagram out of our documentation. Now, this is just kind of for the general Windows Admin Center, and you can kind of work through this and see it. It says internet connection is not required. That's actually not true for, at least I can't imagine how it would be true for the Azure Arc implementation of this, because you're going to connect to the Azure portal, as you will see shortly, and then connect to the server from the Azure portal. So the server does need to be able to access the Azure portal or be able to work with Azure, interact with Azure at the very least. And then we are going to be connecting with a modern browser. It doesn't say specifically which browser, but it does need to be a browser. And then there will be an installation that happens. Now, this with Azure Arc, you'll see, basically installs an extension, right? So there will be some small differences between on-prem installed Windows Admin Center, which we're only talking about in the context to raise awareness here, and what we would do with an Azure Arc enabled server, right? So take it for what it's worth, and note that there are differences, but the end result, what you can manage, is the same, right? And then there's some PowerShell requirements and so on. But in the Azure Arc environment, all of this is implemented and done with just a very, very simple click, right? So let me show you in my Azure Arc setup exactly how this works. So here is my Azure Arc for servers. Here's our demo machine that it shows connected right now. So in previous sessions, we've talked about how to what Azure Arc in general is. We have a session on that already. We've talked about what Azure Arc for servers is with an overview session on that, and then for each of the items that are available for management in the console with Azure Arc for servers, there are sessions for each one of those. As of this recording, not all of those sessions are available. I'm building them as we go. In fact, this is the second detailed session that I'm doing, but we'll build out all of them as we go along. And there's things also that are available that you can do with Azure Arc that may not meet the eye right there. Anyway, here is my Azure Arc enabled server. And that Azure Arc enabled server is running on my laptop. It is this one right here that's running on my laptop. So it is absolutely, if you want to think of my laptop as being on-prem, it absolutely is on-prem, right, as I'm doing this. Again, it doesn't matter where it is as long as you are able to Azure Arc enable it. So let's click onto this and see what we have. So here's the details about my server, the different things that you can do that will hit all of these as we complete the series. And then here's Windows Admin Center, right? Here's Windows Admin Center. So I want to, let me see here. I want to look one place, one moment here. So before I get into Windows Admin Center, let me show you. So this is my overview, and this is my main page, right? But if I click on the menu, you see that I do have Windows Admin Center here. Right? I can click into it. I can actually get into it here. Shortcut, same thing. I'll do it from the other page in just a minute. But here, I have extensions. So the extremely easy way that I enable this for a server is that I will go onto the server just like I did, and if it's not connected, I'll just tell it install, and that's it, right? And what happens behind the scenes is there's actually an extension, Admin Center extension, that is put onto the device, right, accordingly. And so that's all there is to it. Now, there are requirements that you have the specific Windows Admin Center role granted to you in order to work with a server in Windows Admin Center, install Windows Admin Center, whatever the case may be, right? So there's that. But it's really easy to do both of those things and get it done, right? Okay. Now, let's play with Windows Admin Center and see the rest of this time we'll be kind of watching. That was configuring. It was a really hard configuring thing, right? It was pretty easy there. The rest of the time, we'll be playing with Windows Admin Center and actually walking through the options. So I'm going to go ahead and click in. This is the same window you saw, and it's going to let me connect. Now, I'm signed in to the Azure portal, and so it's going to use my credentials to try to connect to the Windows server, and it's working on it now, starting Windows Admin Center. Also, there are ways very easily. So I'm doing this one server at a time. That's my lab environment, just one or two servers here and there that I play with. So I'm not worried about enabling this for 1,000 servers at a time. Pretty decent, easy ways to do that, right? If you're in that scenario, same thing. You just need to get the extension deployed to those servers. But here's Windows Admin Center loading up. And so the rest of this, again, just clicking through, showing you what's in Windows Admin Center that you can leverage. And think again about Azure ARC. So Azure ARC lets you bring everything together no matter where it is. And so if you need to manage a server, you don't need to worry about, oh, it's over in AWS. Oh, no, it's over in Google Cloud. No, it's on-prem. No, you don't need to worry about that. All you need to do is go to the one place, Windows Admin Center, right? And so this is mine. And so here, I have just some of the details here about the device that I can see, logical processors, blog, just some good overview information. And then as I go down, I'll be able to look at, what's the current CPU utilization? Am I, dealing with a server that's right at the limit of its processing load, or whatever the case may be? How many running processes are out there? How much memory is being utilized? So I'm at 81% of my 2 gig, which isn't a big shocker. 2 gigs, not a lot of RAM on a server. And so, but you see it right here. You can see what's my network connectivity and Ethernet usage and so on. What's my disk usage and so on, right? So pretty good, just right off the cuff details about how my server is performing. And so we'll just keep going down. Now, as I click down, think about how you would normally do these things in a production environment without Windows Admin Center. Maybe you would RDP. Maybe you would go about a different remote connection, right? While I'm even on the overview page, let me show you, you can connect here with PowerShell. You could connect with remote desktop here, right? And be able to get to the server itself. Those two up there are shortcuts to some further things beneath, right? But you can do all of that through Windows Admin Center. But let's scroll down. So what about this? This is certificates. And so imagine you maybe need to get onto a server, something's going weird, there might be an expired cert, you need to investigate, whatever the case may be. And so we'll show you right here. Here are your cert stores. Here's a quick overview of how many certs that we have, and mine is probably running a little bit slower than what you would experience, because I know the kind of internet connection I'm on right now is not the greatest where I am. The details of that really don't matter, but I would expect probably yours to run faster because you would be very well connected. But I have 18 expired certs here. I can see at a glance. I don't have any that need to be or are close to being needed to be renewed, and 58 of the certs are healthy. I don't have any certificate-related events, which I would see up here. If I did, I would be able to access the certificate event logs and such. Right? I can go into the local stores. I can see, for example, the certificates. Let me just go look. I can click on them. I can renew. I can export them if I needed to. There's other actions I can take, requesting a new certificate, deleting a cert, whatever. All of that live on the machine through this portal, right? Everything you're seeing is directly on the machine through this portal, right? What else do we have? Well, let's keep going, right? So here we are going to be looking at the various components on our machine. Now, I'm going to decrease the size of this. It keeps coming up there. Anyway, so you can see better, right? But I don't know, let's just go down to something like processors. So I'm going to expand that out. And so we're going to see all of the processors that we have. And so maybe I want to click on this one, right? And I'm going to get the detail out of this particular processor. I can see the detail. I can, right here, see the details of the processor, all of that. I can look at the driver behind the processor, etc. I might even care about looking at, I don't know, let's see, storage devices for some reason, maybe. And so I can look here and see the volume. So again, this is not new. Nothing here is new, right? All of this is just a different way of getting to what you've historically had to get to, maybe different ways, and very conveniently right here in this window. Now, what's next? So here we're dealing with events. This is our event viewer. So I can go and look at my administrative logs. I can see them here. Probably not a lot going on this server because it really is just the base OS plus what I need to demonstrate this. But I can look at the application log, and certainly there will be some events in the application log that will take a second to load, and then you'll be able to see them. We'll interact with these events the same way that we would as if we were local on the machine using the local event viewer. We can see the details, all of it as we're going along, right? So we'll let that load for just a moment, and then we'll take a look. All right, so the event showed up, right? And so I can, I don't know, click on one, click on the error one. Maybe that's more interesting. I can see the details of it, pretty easily here. I can export it. I can clear the event log, whatever. I mean, I can even go down to all of the Microsoft logs that you'd expect at this level, maybe at the Windows level, right? All of these. So again, this is not anything new. You can do all of this even without Windows Admin Center. The question is it as convenient to do it without Windows Admin Center? So let's keep going. What else do we have? So here, we're loading in an ability. So this is cool to me, right? So say you need to get onto the machine, you need to look at a file, you need to delete a file, you need to do something, right, at the file system level. Historically, that would be, if you can get networking access to it, that would be maybe just connecting to the server remotely and adding in that share, doing whatever, right? Or if you couldn't, you would have to RDP in here. I can just look at the C drive and I can see all of it at my fingertips. No problem. I can create new folders. I can create a new file, upload a file. I can download a file. So imagine, maybe, I'll just pick one here. I don't know. Maybe here, I can download that. Right now, this is silly just to pick on that one. Right? But imagine, I'm thinking in the context of someone who might be a config manager administrator or a server administrator or whatever, a SQL administrator, whatever the type is that you need to insert in this example. Imagine you're interacting with the server. You might have a log there that you want to read. You're not going to read the logs from in here, but maybe you can easily download. Like, let's go to, let me show you this example. Let's go to Windows, Windows, and then let's see, logs here, right? So here's my logs folder. I might go into DISM as an example. Come on, go open up DISM. Let's open that up. Go to DISM as a folder, and maybe there's a log here. So I'm going to click on it. I want to read that log easily enough. I'm just going to download that. Here it comes. And as quickly as the network will give it to you, then you'll be able to look at that log file. There it is. I can open it up and look at it locally. So I'm interacting, I'm troubleshooting, doing what I need to do with this system. And even though I have to download some things, I'm very easily able to interact, right? So I hope you guys are getting the sense that this is really cool because I think it is, right? So here's firewall. We can look at our status. We can look at the incoming rules, and we can actually go in and add new rules. You can do this on the fly. Again, think of troubleshooting scenarios. Maybe something's going on here. We just need to look at it. Outgoing rules. We can create new ones. We can edit. We can enable. We can do all of the things that we need, right? All through here. Let's keep going. So what else? What else do we have here? So now we're looking at all of the installed apps. So again, this is a very basic server. It has only the base OS plus what's needed to be able to do what I'm doing in this demo. Right? So all I have is Windows Admin Center and the Azure Connected Machine Agent. Those are the two things I need to be able to do things. But I can look when it was installed. I can confirm versions, whatever I need to do. I can delete apps if I need to delete apps, whatever, right? So let's keep on going. And so here we have the ability to access users, access groups. We can add someone. Maybe someone needs temporary admin access. Great, pop in here, add them, go back out, come back in and remove them later. So we can interact with all these groups. We can manage the membership of the group over here. Again, nothing new. This is nothing new from a technical perspective of capabilities you can do. It's just a matter of how easy you can do it. Edit the user, change the password on the user, all of those things, right? So again, let's keep going. What other options are possible? So here we have, now this one's cool. I think this one's really cool, right? So maybe, let's do a scenario. You can assert your own. But I know that I've worked with customers through the years that I'll say, you know what, we really do need to capture a network trace, and really would be good to make sure that we capture it right before the event starts. So maybe you're going to start doing something on a server and you need to capture the entire network trace or monitor of that whole series of events. So, maybe it's something you do off hours and need to start. Maybe there's something that's happening routinely on a server that you're trying to diagnose what's going on or how it's happening or what the problem is, whatever. Probably it's 1 a.m. that is happening, right? So you might pop in at 12:45 a.m. and start the network trace, right? Well, you can do that by getting up out of whatever you're doing, sleep or otherwise, and get to your computer and RDP-in and start the network trace and all of these things, or you can simply launch this portal and say new capture and start to add all the detail about the capture and things that you want, right? And then we're ready and you kick off the trace and it's running all from here, right? Oops, I clicked out of the whole admin center. I apologize, stand by. So we'll get connected again. So that's pretty cool, I think, to be able to do that with Windows Admin Center. Now, let's so you see them and what these all are right here. So we're going to go to Performance Monitor. So let's kick into Performance Monitor. And I'm not going to, I'm just going to collapse it back down over here. I'm not going to go into, well, I guess I will create a workspace. You can, upload the trace once you have it done. Right, okay, so let's click on to this. Yeah, and you get just the ability to add counters and do different things that you might care about from the server, right? Just, again, like you normally would do it. So here's PowerShell. So you can actually launch and interact with the server from a PowerShell environment. You can do anything you want to from a PowerShell environment, right? And so you'll see PowerShell launch, and there will be a requirement to sign in typically, right? There's my username and password prompts and so on, right? So again, PowerShell, whatever you want to do with PowerShell. And then we'll have processes. So we'll be able to list out the processes and such that are on the machine. We can start processes, end processes, whatever, right? Find handles or other things related to the process. Here's registry. So this is something that we've historically, again, all of these we can do historically over time. This is just extraordinarily easy. So we can import registry stuff here. We can export a registry key here. We can do whatever. We can create new keys. We can add values. We can do anything we want to do. Now, here's another really interesting use case. So I've worked with customers that are using the remote registry editor that we've, again, been able to use for years, and they're using it across an extremely slow network connection. Maybe the server that they're reaching out to is on a less than T1, and so it takes a long time to expand registry keys, especially ones that have lots of data in them. Whereas there might be another internet option in that environment, or they might be able to go directly to it or whatever, right? And so if you do something like this, it might be faster. Certainly it's easier to get connected and possibly to navigate and so on, right? Here's where you could launch. You saw this earlier, remote desktop, if I wanted to, right, to get onto it. I'm going to try this just to see. So that is my username. Confirm, and I'm going to try to connect. And so here in the window, assuming I did all of that right, then I'll be able to RDP into it. So, okay, so I need to do that on the target machines. Sorry, I need to go to the settings on to get that enabled. But you see, you can do it all from here. I don't need to, probably, because I'm using this. But if you need to, you can pop in even right here. I can add roles and features. I'm not going to necessarily click into all of these different things and so forth, but you can definitely see where you can install, you can take away, whatever you need. Then we have scheduled tasks that we can interact with. That's interesting from, at least from a config manager perspective. Sometimes that's interesting from maybe there's something that is a default scheduled task that's there in case you have a particular problem. You can connect in, you can run that scheduled task. That scheduled task will clear up that problem or whatever the case may be, right? That's all available here. Come on, you can load. Let's wait on it to load. Okay, so here we are, right? Here's our scheduled tasks, and whatever you understand from working with these different items on the computer, what each one of these will do. Here's our virus and threat protection. You can see your secured core. You can see your protection history. If there is any kind of issue on it, you can see all of that detail from here. You can enable, disable, whatever the case might need to be, and so forth, right? Okay. So in this case, it doesn't support the secured core server, right? But anyway, you can interact and so forth, right? Okay, here's our services that we can start, stop, whatever. We'll let that populate quickly and then move on. Hang on, waiting on the spinning circle. Okay, so here are all the different services and the settings for the service that we can interact with, right, and so forth. Log on stuff, and anyway, so here's storage. Here's our disks, here's our volumes and such that we might want to look at. Here's our updates. Now this one could be interesting for a number of reasons, right? So I'll give you one example, probably not a common example, but one anyway. So there was a customer that I was working with that had a change in directive from a higher authority that they needed to make sure their update cadence was really, really, really faster than what they were normally used to for a given time period. And they were concerned about visibility. Typically, they would rely on Config Manager to just let the results come in. Config Manager does a really, really good job of getting results back in a timely way, but they were just paranoid on a few systems and they wanted to know immediately, is the update present? Is it present? There were some other things going on in the environment. And so having a tool such as this would have been amazing to be able to connect to the server and keep checking, keep refreshing, keep seeing. As soon as that update goes on, we can see it, confirm it here. We can go and check, and if you allow it, now it may not be allowed depending on your environment. You can check with Microsoft Updates. You can see your settings here, what that is. You can see your update history and all of that, right? And then finally, the settings for the tool, right? Some things you might want to do as far as power config, remote desktop settings here, and so on. This might even be where I have to go to, allow remote connections to this computer. I can save that. So I'm going to go back up and actually try remote desktop again in a minute. I can go to my file shares and so on, right? I have my general thing. So pretty cool stuff, right? Let's go back up to remote desktop and just see here what happens. In theory, this time it should connect. All right, let's try it. So maybe I'm working in here and I do have a need to go and connect to this system. I can do it through this tool. Well, Steve, why would I want to do it through this tool? Why don't I just RDP into it? Good question. You could. Maybe there's some networking reasons that you would have to do a couple of hops to get somewhere. Whatever the credentials are not valid. Yes, they are. I know what I did. The credentials were not valid, but hopefully these will be. So maybe there's a reason. Oh, come on. Let's see. Oh, hang on. I think, let's see. Make sure I'm typing the right password, and then let's see what happens. Anyway, okay, so maybe I'm doing something. Oh, hang on. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just playing around with this. Honestly, it's my first time to try it. Anyway, well, you see, so something's going on with my credentials. figure that out. But still, you might need to connect to it. Maybe it's convenient to do it through here. Maybe you thought you didn't need to, but you do, so you can pop into here. And if this is working correctly, you can get it all done, no problem, right? So anyway, folks, that's really it. Here's some quotes. I've just lifted these out of our documentation here from folks who use Windows Admin Center and the benefits that they have for Windows Admin Center, right? So that's really it. I wanted to show this to you. I think it's pretty amazing capability in and of itself, but the ability to do this with Azure Arc enabled servers takes it to another level so that it doesn't really matter where your servers are. If you need to do it, you can easily implement it, connect it, and so forth all through here. So with that, we will end this session and we will do others coming up, and we'll see you next time.